My husband has told me that he plans to go on a trip with his friend to Ibiza. How should I handle this? Original post. Hi there. I really wish I didn't have to make this post, but here goes. We're lucky to have 2 boys, aged 15 and 10, and despite the cost of living in the UK being high at the moment, we thought we had it pretty good. We argue sometimes but never get too bad. We also have a pretty decent sex life with some exploration, but I won't go into that here. My husband asked me if we had the house to ourselves on Sunday, and if I had a minute. I said yes, and he sat me down. He then showed me this printed poster for some sort of orgy and started explaining the concept of a vacation. He said that a vacation is where I was completely taken aback. He was suggesting that straight men go somewhere with sun, sand and booze and become gay for the duration of the trip. He even said that what happens on the gaycation stays on the gaycation. I was just completely silent and mortified. I was even more so when he said he was looking into booking a trip to Ibiza next year with his brother-in-law to experience it for himself. When I finally got a word in, I just asked if he was gay. So that's okay, but we need to figure out what happens going forward. I didn't get angry or upset. I was just stunned. He swore up and down. He said he wasn't gay, that he was 100% attracted to women and that he still loved me and our boys. I said, "Well, do you think you're maybe?" And he got defensive, saying I needed to drop the accusations. He said this was the beauty of the gaycation. It allows straight men to experience gayness. He said it's like going to an aquarium. He was really insistent that he doesn't find men's bodies or genitalia exciting at all, but he needs to experience this. I said that I'm really not comfortable with this idea. Even if he was, it would be cheating on me explicitly. He got angry. He kept saying he's not because that's the beauty of the gaycation, etc. I just had enough and left the room. I ignored him for the rest of the day, but we spoke at the end of the day where I again asked him why he wants to do this so badly if he's not gay. He said how he's interested in how gay men's lives differ from straight. Once the gaycation begins, it's simply impossible for a man to resist. He must surrender himself, mind, body, and soul, to the gaycation or be destroyed. I really can't put into words how surreal it was because he was speaking so matter-of-factly, and he again insists this is a thing that straight men do all the time and how he's actually doing it a bit late. I just said to him that if he has any love for me, he can't go ahead with this. If he does, the marriage will be over. We didn't speak any more after that. Since then he's mentioned no more of it. But somehow, and this is what scares me a lot, I think that decision is really affecting him. He didn't go into work on Monday, and only went in half a day yesterday because he said he felt too ill. He looks really distressed every time I see him. I don't think he's fully gay though. I can believe he's bisexual, but I'd rather we discussed it in a healthy way, rather than this strange denialism around going on a sex holiday to why. Has anyone known straight guys to do this and come back and just go back to being straight? Surely that can't be a thing that happens. I haven't even started the conversation with his sister yet. I don't know how I'd break it to her. Thanks for any help. I just don't even want to think about it. Being able to get this out there has helped even just a little bit. Edit. Wow, this blew up. This has been incredibly sobering. I think I've now confirmed what I already knew to be the case. The marriage is dead one way or another. I was in denial about that. I have contacted my sister-in-law and she initially screamed at me, calling me a liar, and even insisted I was trying to steal her husband. She rang me back shortly after, apologized, and I told her she was in a bad way and asked my parents to look after the boys. We're meeting tomorrow to discuss this further. I've also texted my husband and told him he'll need to make alternative accommodation arrangements, but he won't be sleeping here tonight. There'll be a bag waiting for him. I'm not sure if the moderators want to lock the post or not, but I think I've got my answers. Thanks for all the kind words, especially from Champion Flight, who gave me a reality check. Yes, I see a lot of people asking about the aquarium. At risk of doxing myself, there is a pretty famous aquarium. In the UK it's called the Deep. At the end you walk through a tunnel that goes underneath the main fish tank, so it's quite immersive. My husband explained the aquarium thing and that it's a bit like that. You go there and you observe the fishes, you even get a bit up close, but you never actually enter the water. get emotionally invested or become a fils gay. So it doesn't really count. It was a very bizarre analogy. I pointed out that it still makes no sense. He just got more in a huff and said that I just don't get it, and frankly I still don't. He's proposing cheating on you with men while using magical thinking to pretend it doesn't count. The fact that he's planning this with his sister's husband makes it even more disturbing. His bizarre explanation about surrendering mind, body and soul isn't just straight man curiosity. It's someone desperately trying to justify exploring his sexuality while keeping his heterosexual marriage. Explaining why he wants to explore his sexuality while keeping his heterosexual marriage intact is not enough. His depression about not being able to go isn't about missing a vacation. It's about being forced to confront his sexuality without his convenient excuse of, what happens in Ibiza stays in Ibiza. His meltdown over not going shows how desperately he wants to avoid facing this reality. He's trying to avoid facing this reality. I read over this multiple times, and I guess the worst part is I know you're completely right. He should consider the divorce. I wanted to avoid the divorce option, but I guess it's the only option. I just wanted to throw this out there as a thought. If he was really planning on going on the vacation, or if that was just a cover to try to get you to agree to it, what if the real plan was to get with women while he's down there? I hadn't really thought of that, to be honest, and now the thought terrifies me. From the way he was talking about men, the fact he had a poster for a gay orgy. I mean, it's one hell of a bluff, surely. Commenter 3. Tell him you are going to have a straight action while he's gone. And you are going to surrender mind, body and soul to other men. Honestly, if my husband proposed this to me, I'd use his time away to pack up, move out and have divorce papers. I'm waiting for him. Update. November 28, 2024. He might even be gay altogether. We've had arguments in the past, but I've genuinely never seen him have such a childish tantrum before. He was screaming about how I just don't understand the gaycation. I absolutely despise that phrase now. He was also insinuating that I'm actually homophobic because I refuse to allow him to participate in this cultural exchange with the gay community. Many of you asked him if it would be acceptable if the roles were reversed. I did say, would it be acceptable if I went and slept with other guys during that week like clockwork? He was very angry and offended, saying it's completely different because I don't think the gaycation is a big deal. What happens on the trip stays on the trip. So it doesn't really matter. I'd just be cheating, but I turned it around on him. What happens in Manchester stays in Manchester. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't count. It's like bird watching. I think it got through to him. He went all quiet and then started crying. He admitted that the thought of me sleeping with another man is destroying his heart. But relationships need sacrifices, so I agreed. While in tears, he said that when he goes on the vacation, I'll get 1 week in Manchester to do whatever I want. He doesn't want that. I told him to get out of my house. Thankfully, he left without a fight. I know it's petty, but I also drained the joint bank account, which is legal in the UK. That way he couldn't use it against me. About an hour later, I got a call from his mum, my mother-in-law. She went on and on about how I was a cheating whore and how horrible I was and so on. When I finally got my composure back, I just said, "Ask your son about the gaycation." She got angry at first, but I said, "No, just ask him about the gaycation. He'll explain." She called me a joke. She hung up. Later on, I got another phone call from her in floods of tears. She was very apologetic, so I told her she doesn't need to be the one to apologize. She was so upset that she put Phil on the phone. While he sounded calm, I could tell he was on the warpath again. She was very apologetic. He said he'd heard that phrase and asked my husband. Initially, my husband said no, but then he explained how it's a modern thing men do. He gave them the same spiel about how what happens on the gaycation men cannot resist. He said a man must surrender to the gaycation. Val just said they told him to leave or they'd call the police. He said he didn't care where he went, but he wasn't staying there. My husband tried to call me. While I was on the phone, I just ignored it. Phil just said he was sorry for me. They're on my side, so that's one thing. I told them to be there for their daughter because it sounds like Bill is involved. My husband didn't tell them that. Phil just said he had to go because he was so angry. I got a text from my husband after the phone call, which was all weirdly rambly. He was saying that I'd abused the Gaycation to destroy. He also said that I had ruined his marriage and destroyed his life. He kept on insisting that he and his parents were homophobic for doing such a thing. I told him that we'll talk when he grows up, and then I blocked his number. I took a day off work to have the locks changed, so that's £500 gone, but whatever. At least I know he won't be coming back. I'm going to look into how to proceed with a divorce, and then we'll move on from there. Oh, and there's also my brother in the picture. I haven't met with Estelle yet. She was in a bad state and has taken this far worse than I have. We're going to try tomorrow, but we did talk over the phone, and I eavesdropped on a conversation with her husband where she put her phone on speaker and I went on mute. Her husband got home earlier. She made him come home and told him there was an emergency. She just said to him, "Can you please explain what a gaycation is?" When straight men go to gay hotspots and participate in gay sex acts. But it doesn't count because there's no investment, and what happens on the gaycation stays on the gaycation. He said it's like writing down angry thoughts and you just put them in a drawer and forget about them. Maisel was in tears the whole time as he calmly dismissed the same points my husband made about how it doesn't count. He even did the whole thing. It's impossible to resist. You must surrender or be destroyed. I seriously think they must be speaking to a dominatrix or something. Are there even male doms? Because surely neither of them are that into this to make that up on their own. I don't want to go into what was discussed, but it became clear to me that Bill is into sissy hypnoporn and sometimes conflates that with the concept of a gaycation. There was this surreal moment where Isail is trying to wrap her head around this while also in floods of tears. He explains so genuinely and matter-of-factly that for most men, the gaycation is either a one-time or annual thing. Some men go on the gaycation for years and others simply never return because they use hypnosis and mind control to be totally feminized into a state of permanent pseudogonous. She said in disbelief, "Surely if you're taking it up the arse willingly because you want to, that makes you gay." He said that if he wanted to do the sissy stuff, it wasn't something he'd want to do long-term. He was pretty adamant that this is something all straight men do, but she just didn't get it because she's a woman. Then there were more insinuations of homophobia. Well, that marriage is dead too, I suppose. The whole ordeal ended when she said to him, "You have a choice to make." And he said no. He doesn't need to make this choice because the beauty of the gaycation is that it allows, she said, that he should keep his marriage because it doesn't count. She said that the choice is whether he's leaving the house that night or she is. The only good thing he did was leave. Estelle and I spoke about it after that, and I'm still utterly stunned. I understand she's gone to her parents for support. What exactly did we do to have our lives destroyed in such an abrupt, bizarre, and embarrassing way? I'm going to look at devices and I'm going to look at the bank statements to see if I can find any definitive proof of cheating. After that, I'll figure out how to tell the boys why their father won't be coming home. I spoke to another sister-in-law. My husband's family is his older sister, his younger sister, the original sister-in-law, and I gave her a quick overview of what I knew. She asked her husband, and thankfully he was confused. Then she mentioned that about 2 years ago at a birthday party, he was approached by my husband. Bill signed up to some online boot camp around BDSM and cross-dressing. He assumed they were taking the piss out of him, so told them to fuck off and never really thought of it again. The fact that this has been going on for that long is making me want to throw up. P.S. for the poster who said about divorce options, I'm actually going to look into adultery because, plain and simple, that's what this is. Bill and Bill are both in on a shared delusion that's already destroyed 2 families. Their identical talking points about surrender and destruction prove this was coordinated. They're not just planning to cheat. They're already involved in some online community that's warped their thinking. The fact that they both instantly launched into the same script about gay cats shows this isn't spontaneous. You made the right call, draining the account and changing the locks. They're trying to turn this into accusations of homophobia, which shows how desperate they are to avoid responsibility. The identical language, the bizarre aquarium and bird-watching analogies, the talk of surrender or being destroyed. They're in some online echo chamber that's completely divorced from reality. When your husband agreed to let you have a Manchester week, while crying he revealed the whole lie. He knows exactly what this is. Cheating. He just wants permission to do it, while denying you the same. The talk about hypnosis and permanent feminization reveals just how far this goes. Get a lawyer. Protect your assets and document everything. This will get worse before it gets better. Focus on protecting yourself and your children, because they're too far gone in their shared fantasy to see the destruction they're causing. What a pathetic hill for two men to die on. They've destroyed their marriages, traumatized their families, and alienated their parents, all while insisting none of it counts because they made up special rules about it. They want to cheat without consequences, and they found an online community that validates this fantasy. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. Comment 2. Comment 3.